On this episode of MythBusters, Adam and Jamie dial in on a fabulous fable about two phone books. Interleaving their pages apparently makes them impossible to pull apart.
We will need to bring some more power.
Who's the boss now?
And then, Cary Grant and Tori test a Hollywood Big Bang Theory.
He's gaining on us!
Can you blow up a shark with black powder, a harpoon gun, and a boat battery? Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
Goodbye, my little friend.
and Jamie Heineman.
Is that beautiful or what?
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
Cue dramatic music.
Joining them, Carrie Byron,
Criminals beware the mark of the MythBuster.
Grant Imahara,
Let's eat.
and Tori Belleci.
Call me the cougar.
They don't just tell the myths,
Mr. Heineman, you are go for launch.
they put them to the test.
What's this? A new suggestion?
Yeah, these guys have really outdone themselves, man. They have filmed an entire MythBusters segment themselves in order to give us a story idea.
What's the myth?
Well, they're claiming that if you take two phone books and interleave their pages, one by one by one, that those two phone books absolutely cannot be separated.
That's right down our alley. I think we should take that on.
I totally agree.
Yep, not only did our intrepid Dutch duo, Tim and Steve, create this crazy spoof, they put forward the intriguing sounding myth that two phone books with their pages interleaved are impossible to rent asunder. But could the alternating pages of a phone book that haven't been glued, taped, or bound really stick together under any circumstances?
It's pretty clear where we have to start.
I agree. You know, in their testing, the clamp with which they held their phone books eventually failed, and they stopped testing there.
Well, that's a problem we'll have to solve then.
I agree. But first, let's get interleaving.
In true MythBuster style, the phone book fable is going to get ramped, ripped, and revved up until the boys get answers. But before the envelope pushing begins, let's take you back to the beginning.
The very first thing we have to do is interlace these things. Like this. I think it's going to be a little harder than that.
Long and tedious task ahead? Cue our editor's favorite solution, the time lapse.
You ready to interleave some of these phone books?
Yep.
All right.
With the two phone books secured, Adam and Jamie
We've just passed 500 pages total. We're cruising.
simply take turns flipping pages, pausing only when they get to M for Mafia.
Does this remind you of when you used to count money for the mob?
I was a hitman. I wasn't a money counter.
Almost there.
And with all 800 pages of each book interleaved, the guys begin to get a grip on the science of this myth.
I can't believe there's nothing holding those two things together but friction.
It's really quite amazing. I mean, when you tug on these, it's like they're glued together, but they're not. It can only be the friction of each page where it contacts the next one, and times 1,000 or so, it adds up to a lot.
What I've got here is a lesson in friction. While this might look like two 800-page phone books, Jamie and I have interleaved them, or for you magic aficionados, we've done a Pharaoh shuffle. And apparently, almost nothing will rent these two things asunder. And we're going to see if that's true.
In an attempt to handle the truth, Adam and Jamie are focusing on friction. Friction can be defined as the force resisting the relative motion of two surfaces. For example, the pages of a phone book. Static friction is the force keeping two stationary objects from moving. And kinetic friction occurs when two objects that are already moving rub up against each other. That's the theory on what's holding the books together. To help pull them apart, the guys rigged two plywood handles along the book's spines. But neither these nor the tape you can see will interfere with the experiment.
All right. You want to do some tug of war?
Okay.
Well, no, Jamie and I are about to have a tug of war. And we are going to try and pull the phone book apart, but of course, I think we're also going to try and pull each other across the shop. And I think it's actually probably a pretty even game. We weigh about the same. Jamie may be a little bit stronger than me, but I fight dirty.
It's been a while since Adam
Oh, check out my guns!
and Jamie have gone head to head. But it's a grand old MythBusters tradition that underhand tactics,
I've still got a couple of tricks up my sleeve.
bending, and then breaking the rules are all part of the fun. Until someone loses. But there'll be no cheating here. It's a straight tug of war. A matching of muscle, mano y mano.
I'm gonna run out of room here real quick, so.
Maybe you won't run out of room so quick.
Of course, aside from pride and sensitive egos, what's really on the line is the myth. Will the phone book pages stand up to our macho men?
You ready?
There we go.
First to cross the line loses.
Oh, I believe I'm winning.
Equally matched in weight, traction was the ultimate decider in this test. And with no time to substitute an hydraulically powered robot, Jamie has to take his medicine. But more importantly, despite being fueled by the red-hot fires of competition,
Good job. The phone book's still together, though.
Adam and Jamie failed to make an impression on the phone books.
Although I may have had better traction on my shoes than Jamie, I'd say it's Adam and Jamie 0, phone book 1. This puppy didn't creak, didn't move, didn't budge. We're gonna need some more help.
Before the help arrives, there's time for a little gloating.
Dude, this is like a professional wrestling trophy belt, right? I'm gonna wear this around. Like, check it out, Heineman. Who's the boss now?
Next up, break out the popcorn, because Cary, Grant, and Tori catch a movie.
Oh, so we're doing another movie myth? Which one is it?
The cult classic, Deep Blue Sea.
Yes, genetically altered man-eating sharks. Tell me we're testing the scene when they blow the shark up.
We're testing the scene where they blow the shark up.
Yes.
But there's a twist. They don't have any weapons on hand, so they MacGyver it. Check this out.
Yep, in this scene from the silver screen, the survivors of some mutant shark mayhem are desperate to finish the fish. So they turn to a harpoon gun, flares, and an electric charge.
We ought to get about 2.5 sticks of dynamite out of these flares.
The question is, could this MacGyver-style combo really equal a big boom?
From up here, you ought to be able to see me spirit. When I do, you take this end of this cable, hook it up to the positive side of the boat battery, and boom.
So they have 2.5 sticks of dynamite's worth of black powder from the flares, and it looks like he's gonna make a pipe bomb from the cylinder attached to the harpoon.
But how are they gonna ignite the black powder?
It looks like he's gonna just attach that metal cable to a battery, and that's supposed to set it off.
No way.
Because that's exactly what happens after upping the jeopardy by pinning his friend to the shark.
Now what's he gonna do? I mean, if he kills the shark, he could potentially kill his friend. But if he doesn't kill the shark can get away. Now he's in a dilemma. Kill the shark, kill the friend, let the shark get away. What's he gonna do?
He opts for the heroic sacrifice, of course. But our harpoon-toting hero hesitates, perhaps fatally, because the genetically enhanced super shark makes for the hole in the fence he'd prepared earlier.
Oh, wait, the hero's free.
There's a spark.
And
Wait a minute, 2.5 sticks of dynamite?
Tower of Water, Blood, and Fire. Awesome.
That is a pretty crazy scene, and there's a lot of elements to test.
Okay, let's break it down. First of all, we need to find out if you can ignite black powder with a car battery like they did in the movie.
And we need to see if an improvised harpoon gun like that can go that distance and still be accurate.
And then we need to find out more about these flares. Do they even contain black powder? And if so, do they have enough to make the mythical 2.5 sticks of dynamite?
And can that amount of black powder make the massive explosion that we saw?
And the guy survived.
Well, we definitely need to test that.
Okay, that's 5 things to test for one scene. That's gotta be a record.
It's the Deep Blue Sea Quintet of Myths with 5 separate testable elements. It's something to get your teeth into. But hold the phone, because Tori's starting this myth by making a mark of a shark.
I started off with a big block of foam. I put an outline on the profile and then a top view, marked that out with spray paint, cut that out with hot wires. From there, I went and took the foam cutting machine and shaped it down to more shark-like.
Nicknamed Hugo because he's, huge, oh. He's a little cuddlier than his movie counterpart. And talking of the movie,
Now, while Tori finishes up Hugo, Grant and I are going to start testing the first part of this myth, which is the ignition system. Can you ignite black powder with a battery and a wire? We're going to start with a proof of concept.
and to explain the concept and method for proving it, here's our resident electrical engineer.
Okay, so this is a setup for our proof of concept. Now, people would normally think that it's the spark from the battery that ignites a black powder, but in their setup, it's actually more likely to be the heat. So, what I'm gonna do is hook up this battery to a pair of jumper cables. There's a thin wire between the two, and the heat should build up as a current flows through that conductor, and that should ignite the black powder.
Sounds simple enough.
You just touch the positive and that should ignite, right?
That's right. Everybody ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Yep, as expected, the heat emitted by the current being forced through the wire is enough to ignite the black powder.
That's proof of concept.
Yeah, for this part. But now what we gotta do is set it up like they had it in the movie.
Well, as we expected, we generated enough heat to ignite the black powder. But the question is, will the setup in the movie do the same?
That's the burning question. And some jump cuts later, they're all set to put the movie scene to the test.
Okay, so here's the setup. We have a tank filled with salt water. Inside of the tank is an airtight metal canister. Inside of that is black powder. Now that's connected, just like in the movie, through a steel cable. Steel cable leads back to a 12-volt marine battery. Then the other half of the circuit, by a jumper cable, leads all the way back to the tank, and hopefully completing the circuit, and ba-boom.
So just like the movie, the metal cable runs from the black powder canister back to the battery. And the only feasible way of completing the circuit, creating the all-important spark or heat, is through the salty seawater. But Grant isn't exactly convinced.
I don't think it's gonna go ba-boom, because you have a conduction path through the salt water. And I just don't think the voltage is high enough to get that amount of heat to ignite the black powder. I guess we're gonna find out.
Even though Grant's got his doubts, the team still follows the MythBusters safety mantra. When using explosives, duck!
Ready?
This is same ignition system as movie. In 3, 2, 1.
Nothing. A whole lot of nothing.
I think that by now our hero has been swallowed and digested.
I just don't think there's a good enough conduction path to generate the heat you need to set off the black powder.
Not a very good start to the myth.
No.
Yep, film physics have once again proved false, and part 1 of the test quintet has bombed. But with Tori's finished shark now foaming at the mouth, there's still 4 more parts to reel in. And down at the bomb range, it's time to take a shot at myth part 2, the harpoon.
What the heck? Whoa! Look at that. What I have right here is the actual prop from the movie Deep Blue Sea. Now, I know it looks like a harpoon gun, but it's actually a line thrower that they've modified. They've added this tip and this cylinder. Now, since they've modified it, we're not gonna be able to use this anymore. But we have this, a real working harpoon gun. And this is what we're gonna use to test, to fire our harpoons into our shark to see if a harpoon will even go that far.
And how far is far? Well, the range in the movie looked about to 100 feet.
Man, that's far.
But before Tori takes aim and fires, here's some Harpoon 101.
A harpoon gun is very similar to a rifle, but instead of a bullet, we're using a .38 special blank. Now the blank, once fired, will create enough pressure to launch our harpoon, which is sleeved on the outside of the barrel, unlike a rifle where the bullet is inside the barrel. And this will hopefully launch our harpoon to our target. All right, we're ready to fire. We're loaded in 3, 2, 1. Yeah! Woo! Nice! Bullseye! You know, it's great. you hit him exactly where the guy hit him in the movie. I think I might have pinned his arm to the shark. Looks like we've confirmed this part of the myth. You can shoot a harpoon over 100 feet and still hit your target. And we pinned the dude to the shark. It's like double confirmed. I love this.
Meaning part 2 of the myth gets the thumbs up, making it all to play for at 1 apiece. Adam and Jamie are muscling up to test the tall tale of interlaced phone books that are impossible to pull apart.
This experiment is one of those things that is totally counterintuitive because, you know, it's just a couple of phone books interleaved together. There's no glue, there's no tape, there's no screws. They're just sitting there, those phone book pages, and we should be able to pull them apart quite easily, but somehow I don't think so.
If you don't believe Jamie, here's a sentence you don't often hear on MythBusters. This is one you can try at home. And while you're at it, here's something else you can try at home with phone books. The tall tale that it takes a strong man to tear a phone book in half.
As long as we've got all these phone books around, I thought this is an opportunity to learn how to rip a phone book.
And Adam's tricky technique is this. Bend the book into a V separating the pages. And that means you tear 1 page at a time and not all 800. Simple.
This is like a sickness. It's like an addiction. I gotta rip up another one. Oh, yeah.
But the problem with addictive highs are the inevitable subsequent lows.
I know I'm a myth buster, but I'm a little sad to find out that the trick is so easy.
And Adam knows the only way to cheer himself up is to beat, or could that be cheat, Jamie in a contest.
Jamie, come here. Got a challenge for you. Ready?
Okay.
Can you do that?
I don't know. Let's see. I've never done this before.
After seeing Jamie struggle for a few minutes, Adam adds the ultimate insult by offering to help.
All right, here, I'll make it easy for you.
Okay.
Start from the other side. Take it, bend it all the way like this, and you're kind of spreading out all the pages and tearing them one at a time. That's the trick, and it should tear open. Come on, you're stronger than me. What, you gonna let me show you up on television?
You want to get whacked in the head with a phone book?
It's a fun trick to know. I think we should practice.
You go right ahead.
Okay.
After a trip to the recycling bin, boys, it's back to work. Which means it's time to dial in on some hard data.
We weren't able to pull the phone books apart. That tells us something, but not specifically how strong they are. So we're going to test them with this scale.
Yep, this scale will measure exactly how much tug
I'm ready when you are.
the phone books are being subjected to.
All right, what do we get to?
Not bad.
320 pounds.
320 pounds sounds significant, but what we need is a little perspective.
To put that amount of force in perspective, it's the weight of your average linebacker.
Impressive. But what's next?
Let's get everyone in the building on this.
Okay.
Yep, it's time to number up.
You ready to fight the Spartans?
With 9 muscled MythBusters and Adam split into 2 teams of 5,
1, 2, 3. Like that.
we're about to see exactly what these phone books are made of.
Lions! Come on, they're beating us, you bastards! Move!
Okay.
So far, it's phone books 1, everybody else 0. 5 people on 5 people tug of war, generating almost 2,100 pounds of force, the weight of a small car, and the phone books are steadfastly refusing to be separated.
Which leaves one final manpower option. All 10 MythBusters in one mighty team. Mush.
Lunge! Tug! All right, what do we get? We got up to 4,000 pounds. You guys called it up. You called up the beast. And it didn't do anything.
Come on, guys, do I have to keep asking? 4,000 pounds is
About the weight of a full-size pickup truck. And still, we weren't able to separate the phone books.
We gave everything to this phone book. It looked right back at our face and said, "Tuh! Is that all you've got? We will need to bring some more power."
But before the bringing of more power,
What's up, man?
in an attempt to unstick this sticky problem,
I have something fun for you guys to try.
Adam brings more MythBusters.
The goal is for you guys to separate these without ripping them, tearing them, just by pulling. You've got 1/2 hour and any tool or material you want to use in the shop.
This is gonna be easy. 1, 2, 3.
Ow! You broken nail.
Maybe not easy, but it is intriguing.
This is one of those really, really cool myths that anybody can try because everybody's got a phone book.
Magic. Imagining how the phone books go together. It's almost like one of those Chinese finger locks where the harder you pull, the tighter the lock is on your fingers.
With time ticking, they finally get serious and get a grip.
Oh, it's starting to hurt.
But like Adam and Jamie, they realize pulling against each other isn't working.
So it can handle at least 250 pounds.
So Tori decides to tempt fate again.
Remember last time I did this?
I do, that's why I'm wincing.
And in case you don't remember, here's that golden moment when Tori got blown away. But this time, Tori escapes headache-free, and he and Carrie put their heads together.
All right, Carrie, go ahead and drive away.
And the shop's heavy machinery to try and bust the myth. Oh, and Tori's teeth.
This is a little game I like to call Break Your Teeth.
You'd have thought Tori gets paid per ambulance ride.
Okay, here we go.
So it's the humble phone book's biggest test yet. Will their pages resist the scissor and forklift? Or will our M7 MythBusters bust the myth?
Oh, it broke the spine.
It's not working.
Yeah.
No, it's just ripping out the spine of the book.
And with the 30 minutes long gone, the guys are defeated, but impressed.
I think this has a lot to do with surface area and friction. I am completely amazed at how much force we put on that book and it's still gripped on.
We failed. Now the big question is, pepperoni or sausage?
She may be the smartest animal in the world, but she's still an animal.
Carrie Byron,
Come to Mama.
Do it!
Tori Balachi, and Grant Imahara. They're shooting at myths from the deep green sea. And so far, in their quintet of chaos, it's 1 part busted, 1 confirmed. So what's next?
Now, for the next part of this myth, we're going to focus on the explosives, and those are contained inside of the flares. Now, we're going to stay here on the bomb range because it turns out taking a flare apart is pretty dangerous.
Remember, in the movie, they casually crack open a box of 10 flares to harness so much gunpowder that...
We ought to get about 2.5 sticks of dynamite out of these flares.
But how much black powder is there in a flare?
Now, we don't know how much black powder is in one of these flares, so what we need to do is find out how many of these flares we need in order to make 2.5 sticks of dynamite.
To find out, Grant, and not Tori for obvious reasons, is going to very carefully cut open some flares.
In order to protect myself, I'll be wearing the fire suit. That's in case the black powder ignites. And I've got a tubing cutter. What I'll do is attach that to the flare and crack it open, take out the flare part, and then pour the black powder into a tray where I can measure how much black powder there actually is inside of the flare.
All right, remember, if you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll.
What's clear immediately is that opening a cartridge flare isn't quite as easy as the movie made out.
It looks as though the Martian has figured out the Earth tools.
In fact, it takes a full 12 minutes for Grant to crack it.
Okay, I think I'm through.
With the dangerous part over, Grant measures the amount of black powder, and it's pitiful.
These are exactly the same type of flares they used in the movie. However, the big difference is that there's only 1.5 grams of black powder in here. It's not like the guy did.
Yep, the numbers just don't add up. The mythical 2.5 sticks of dynamite is about 450 flares worth, not the 10 they harvest in the movie. And that means number 3 hits the busted bin.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's time we blow stuff up.
I think we're gonna need 3 booms.
The more the better.
1 using the amount of black powder they could physically contain in the canister used in the movie.
Then another one using the 2.5 sticks of dynamite they mentioned in the dialogue.
And if that doesn't get us the same kind of explosion we see in the movie, I say we do whatever it takes.
So with Hugo in tow, the team hit the road. Their destination? The secret backcountry quarry, where they had their last TNT party.
You guys ready to blow up a mutant shark and save the world? You bet. We're back at the quarry lake. This time, we're gonna blow up a shark, and we're gonna show a few different things. We're gonna show, 1, is the bomb he made in the movie gonna make that big of an explosion? 2, is it enough to kill a shark? There should be enough black powder in this flare to give us 2.5 sticks of dynamite. And 3, if you're in the water and you're that close to the explosion, are you gonna survive? This is gonna be a great day! Except, we're gonna destroy Hugo.
Yep, Hugo will be going out with a bang. But first, it's this fish's last swim.
He's gaining on us! He's going for Carrie! He likes the girl!
That's a great idea. How you getting back on the boat?
I haven't thought about that yet.
Next, Hugo gets that sinking feeling as the team weighs him down, positioning him 10 feet under, about the same depth as the shark in the movie.
He's going. Oh, that looks sick!
In the water, the shark looks even more menacing, but the shockwave from the blast could be our hero's biggest concern.
Now, to find out if our hero is going to actually survive this crazy blast, we have this. Now, this rig was created by New Mexico Tech. They have installed Osico pressure discs. Now, at 500 PSI, these things will burst. 500 PSI is certain death for the hero. So we're gonna be able to find out from 15-foot increments how far away our hero has to be from the blast to be able to survive.
New Mexico Tech is a world leader in explosion technology, and these custom-made rigs and Osico rupture discs are the perfect addition to this test.
So let's go in easy.
So 50 feet from Hugo, the first rupture rig is delicately placed in the water.
All right, the buoys work.
One down.
50 feet represents the distance from the shark that the hero was at the time of the explosion. But to cover all bases, the team positions rupture rigs at 100, 150, and 200 feet away. It's been a monumental effort, and finally everything's ready for some shark obliteration.
Sharks in position, all the rupture discs are in position in 50-foot increments.
All we need to do now is strap some explosives to that shark and blow him up.
Frank!
Adam and Jamie are focusing on the Phonebook friction fable. And the ramping up has already begun.
10 people, 4,000 pounds of pull, and nothing. Phonebooks are tougher than we thought.
Dude, this thing is a behemoth. What are we gonna pull it with now?
Rental cars. We said we were going to ramp it up, so we have. We've got 2 sedans. They're about 140 horsepower each. We're going to see if we can rip those Phonebooks apart.
Yep, manpower didn't do it for him. So it's on to horsepower and a whole heap of horsing around.
I love full insurance! Oh, I made the car so dirty. Couldn't find the trunk key.
It's a simple plan using the same 2 books that withstood the war of tugs.
I lassoed myself.
Adam and Jamie are going to drive in opposite directions. And the only thing that could prevent them from driving off into a dusty sunset is the interleaved pages of the directories. Remember, there's no glue, and the plywood clamps are simply providing a firm grip.
Rig's ready, I'm ready. What do you think's gonna happen?
Well, I think the rig's going to break before the books do.
This is it.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Can the drag created by the 800 pages of 2 Phonebooks stop these 2 drag racers?
I'm starting to spin.
Yeah, I'm spinning too.
Come on, spin some more.
Incredibly, with the force gauge peaking at 4,800 pounds, the phone books, unlike the car's tires,
That's fun.
hold firm.
Still intact.
I smell rubber burning, but I don't see no broken rig or phone book.
Well, at this point, it's phone book 3, Jamie and Adam, zilch. I think the phone book's feeling pretty self-satisfied, but we're not done by a long shot.
Cary Grant and Tori are mimicking a 5-point movie myth with an explosive, fishy finale. And with 3 of the quintet accounted for, duck, because here come the big booms.
For our deep blue sea exploding shark myth, here's the plan. First, we're going to use the harpoon that they used in the movie, completely filled with black powder, as much as we can stuff in there. If that doesn't give us our movie explosion, then we're moving on to what they said they have, which is the equivalent of 2.5 sticks of dynamite. Now, if that doesn't work, then we move on to a special Frank concoction, which is going to give us the movie explosion that we're hoping for.
Remember, in the movie, a small canister of black powder liquefies the shark, and at 50 feet away, our hero survives. But what about in real life?
This is the harpoon from the movie. Now, Frank has made us a canister the same dimension.
Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough. It's a more elegant weapon.
It works! Now, to give this myth the best possible chance, we're gonna fill this with black powder, but this only holds 28 grams. Now, to get an explosion 2.5 sticks of dynamite worth, you need 681 grams of black powder. This is nowhere near 681 grams. But we're gonna do this first because that's what the movie did, and see what happens.
Out on the water, Frank carefully lays the charge. But will 28 grams of black powder really shake the shark?
This is going to be Shark Explosion! Ready to fire in 3, 2, 1, fire!
Houston, we have a problem.
I love it when they try to hit the button and the bomb doesn't go off. That's the best part.
Everything points to a misfire, at least until Frank calls the team in for a closer look.
That's it?
That's it. What you see is what we got.
So it went off.
It went off, and that's what we have left. It was less than exciting. It was so less than exciting, we thought we had a malfunction, but as you can see, we didn't.
So, sorry, Houston, we didn't have a problem. The same size canister is used in the movie, 28 grams, didn't even cause a ripple.
It did no damage at all.
There are 3 things we're looking for to confirm our mutant shark explosion from the movie. First of all, a tower of water, big explosion. Second of all, we have to see completely obliterated shark. And third, our hero has to survive. Tower water? Beep, little bit of smoke. Obliterated shark? Just a little bit of a flesh wound. He's coming back to eat you. Finally, did our hero survive? Absolutely. So 1 out of 3, not so good for the myth.
So what now?
We're gonna up the stakes, and this time we're gonna go with what the guy said in the movie, which is 2.5 sticks of dynamite worth of explosive. Frank's preparing a vessel that will contain this amount of black powder, and we're gonna set that off and see what happens to our shark, our hero, and also if we get the same kind of geyser.
Of course, there's a problem here. 680 grams of black powder, the 2.5 sticks of dynamite, is now so big and weighty, it could never have been fired by the harpoon. But that's Hollywood for you.
This is mutant shark with the equivalent of 2.5 sticks of dynamite. On your go, Frank.
Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1.
Did you see that? Yeah! Dude, it blew the buoys off the shark. Awesome!
Quite as big as the movie.
I think the shark is dead.
Yep, as the team go in for a closer look, it's clear that Hugo has gone belly up.
It's not looking good for Hugo. That's his stomach right there. Oh my gosh.
But much like Mick Jagger, Cary can't get no satisfaction.
2.5 sticks of dynamite was definitely a better blast. I mean, we got to see a little bit of a boom, but it was still not the 100-foot in the air tower that we saw in the movie. So, though that shark is maybe in 2 pieces, he's not completely decimated and liquefied in the air like it was in the movie.
In other words, part 4 of the quintet also bites the dust. And that means it's time to go large.
This is it. This is the one we've all been waiting for. This is where we're gonna get the huge explosion that we see in the movie. Now, the first one we tested, it gave us hardly anything. Then we did 2.5 sticks of dynamite. We destroyed the shark, but still we didn't get that giant tower of water splashing into the air. Now, we're gonna get that. And we're probably gonna kill the shark and kill the guy all in the same moment. This is gonna be awesome.
So for the grand finale, Hugo, like Humpty Dumpty, is pieced back together. But not for long, because this next boom will be big.
He's kinda in one piece.
We were out here and we did surfing with explosives, and we used 200 pounds of cast boosters. Well, we're gonna crank it up a few notches today. We're gonna use 400 pounds of cast boosters, and we're going to decimate the shark. It's gonna be magnificent.
You heard it, folks. Stand by, because this is gonna be magnificent.
Dude, I am proud of our little phone books. They withstood a lot more than I thought they would. This thing is impressive.
It is. And, you know, I have a theory. I think there's more going on here than just friction of page on page. I think it has to do with the pages being stacked and the weight that they put on each other, as well as there may be some sort of a finger puzzle thing where the harder you pull, the more it grabs.
Well, it's clear if we're going to get these things separated, we're going to need bigger vehicles and a lot more traction.
Well, you know what? I've got both.
No, really?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome!
Yep, Jamie has contacted the Military Vehicle Technology Foundation and head honcho Jacques Littlefield.
Wow.
Who can't wait to show off the largest private collection of armored fighting vehicles in the world.
The earliest tank I have, which is a World War I tank built by the U.S., it was actually the first tank the U.S. built.
And for the next happy hour,
This is amazing.
Well, let me show you some other stuff.
as Adam and Jamie get the full guided tour,
That's kind of cute. It's almost cuddly.
you could say they resemble two toddlers let loose in a toy factory.
Nobody moves, nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, I know. Are you jealous? I'm not going to touch that. There we go. Now I'm ready. There's a lot of munitions down here.
With playtime reluctantly over, Jacques introduces us to two potential phone book rippers, an armored personnel carrier and an M551 Sheridan.
This is the famous Death Stalker.
And with the rides ready, it's time to raise the curtain on the MythBuster Military Ballet. Yep, that's the tanks. So what about the...
You got a phone book for me?
Right here.
The toughest thing about ramping this test up is how to hold on to the books. This is an opportunity to not mess around.
Nice.
If these clamps give way, I'll eat my beret.
That's ready. Aesthetically, it matches the tanks.
Yeah, military steel. It's the new black.
So we're going from a car and some wood clamps to a tank. And something a little heavier.
And with phone books held snugly in their brand new bindings,
What are you, the ghost of Christmas futures?
the gang chain the metal monsters together.
There you go.
And remember, their interleaved pages are the only things holding the two books together.
I don't know about you, but I think we're ready to start stretching.
In 3,
Carrie, Tori, and Grant have made a shark called Hugo, Bubble and Trouble. And now they're going to turn him into rubble with 400 pounds of TNT.
Setup for this is kind of cool. We've got Frank out there on the boat with his crew, strapping 2 body bags full of 400 pounds of explosives to our shark. We're standing at the perimeter at a safe distance so we can watch this blast. We have a feeling that the Tower of Water might hit the top of that hillside.
Yep, Hugo is going to be Hugon.
This is Exploding Shark, 400 pounds of explosives. On your go, Frank.
Fire in the hole!
Here we go.
Yeah, this is it!
Houston, me again. This time we really do have a problem.
Oh, this is every bomb tech's worst nightmare.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Oh.
400 pounds of explosives just sitting there, misfire. This is really, really stressful. This is the part of explosions I really, really hate.
This is a really, really dangerous situation. Probably the most dangerous kind of situation for these guys because they don't really know what has gone wrong, but something's gone wrong and the explosives are already rigged out there. So they're gonna check it out and maybe see if the blasting cap came out.
Very carefully, Frank and his team move in. They have to remove and replace the faulty blasting cap. One false move and they're dead.
You kidding me? This is like the worst experiment ever.
But after 40 breath-holding, white-knuckled, cold sweat minutes, the team thankfully are good to go on take 2.
Yeah! This is it!
We're ready to commence countdown.
Go ahead, Frank, start.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1,
Now that is what I call a Hollywood boom.
Wow! 600 feet in the air! That was crazy!
That went like what, 500 feet?
Oh my God. At least. I don't think the shark made it.
I think the shark is liquefied.
Explosion 3 delivered a near-perfect match for the movie scene,
Look, there's a big chunk out there.
sending shark debris all over the lake. Want to see it again?
That was exactly what I imagined it would look like. I mean, that explosion was huge. I think that's my new favorite explosion. The spray of water probably went like 500 feet in the air. Those buoys went at least 600 feet in the air. It was raining down shark, and that was definitely more than 2.5 sticks of dynamite.
Hugo is Hugon. Tori's gonna cry tonight.
Oh, Hugo!
So having at last recreated the Hollywood explosion, they can finally answer the last part of the myth. Would the hero have survived? Remember, in the movie, the team estimated he was 50 feet away. So the closest rupture rig is the crucial one.
That is totally ruptured. All of them. Oh
They're
my
all
God.
blown all the way through.
All 4 of them are ruptured.
50 feet.
That dude would be dead. All right, let's go check out the 100-footer.
100 feet is also in the death zone.
So that's 100 feet, all ruptured.
You'd be dead at 100 feet.
It turns out that to have survived, you'd have had to have been 150 feet away, way further than the movie hero.
We checked the rupture disc at 50 feet. Every single disc was completely burst. 100 feet, same thing. 150, 200, still intact. So that means for us, there's certain death at 50 feet and at 100 feet. So we think our hero is completely obliterated.
And you know what that means. Part 5 of the myth is busted. And it's time to wrap things up.
That explosion was insane.
Yeah, I think that's my new favorite explosion.
Okay, so we started out this myth by breaking it down into 5 parts: the ignition system, the amount of black powder from the flares, the size of the explosion, and the hero surviving. All busted.
The only thing that actually worked was a harpoon gun.
Yeah, but even the harpoon gun was problematic. I mean, the amount of explosives you would need to get that big of an explosion, I mean, the harpoon would never even fly. It would be too heavy. It would just be like...
So while this has been a totally cool myth to test, and I love the way we broke it down, this one is totally and completely busted.
I agree.
But can we see the explosion again?
Heck yeah!
welcome back. Here's where we stand so far. Jamie and I got word that interleaving the pages of 2 phone books yielded something incredibly strong.
Does this remind you of when you used to count money for the mob?
I was a hitman, I wasn't a money counter.
So we did it, and we tugged on them. We couldn't separate them. We got 10 friends together. They couldn't separate them. We got 2 cars, and still those phone books wouldn't be separated. But we're not going to leave it there. We went out and found a couple of tanks. Behind me is 30 tons of military steel, 650 horsepower. Are they going to separate the phone books? At this point, I have no idea. But I do know that something is going to happen.
So it's the 14-ton, 300-horsepower M113A1 fire support vehicle. And the M551 Sheridan, also known as the Death Stalker, which packs a healthy 350 horsepower and weighs in at 15 tons, versus 2 phone books.
I was trying to make a phone call. That's all I wanted to do.
The question is, can the pages take the pressure?
If this doesn't separate the phone books, I'd call them effectively unseparatable.
I think so.
All right, let's see what happens.
I love the smell of diesel in the morning.
Okay, go ahead and pull slack.
With the lightest of touches on the throttle, the tanks ease delicately apart. The careful positioning not reflected by the force gauge needle.
That's 1,000 pounds of force so far.
With the slack taken up, Jamie signals the start. 30 tons of mighty military machines slowly begin to move in opposite directions, and the force gauge climbs quickly. But the courageous phone books, you couldn't call them yellow, hang on for all they're worth.
There it went.
Separated, it worked.
But the Yankin tanks finally win the tug of war.
Darn.
You wanted to see some metal breaking?
Yeah, well, I wanted to see these things spin, burn rubber.
Nope, unlike the rental cars, these puppies had traction and power to spare. And talking of power...
Let me see how many pounds it took. 8,000 pounds of force is what it took. Well, our military steel was up to the task of separating the phone books. And lest you think that 8,000 pounds of force is not a lot, let me put it in perspective. We could hang both of those rental cars from those interleaved phone books and it wouldn't have broken them. That's how much force we're talking about. It's pretty amazing.
So it turns out that interlaced phone books are not, in fact, indestructible. You just have to have a couple of tanks hanging around to do it. I still just wanted to make a phone call.